Do you feel like Puffy owe you?
Yeah, he should. I think he should look out. He look out for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? He wrong. You know, he like we should on the grass or something. You know what I'm saying? Like he don't even know us no more.
You reported that a former warden had a warning for Diddy that he should watch his back in prison.
He's in there, and what we've been told by a former warden is he's a target.
I said it to you days ago, and I'm gonna say it again. P. Diddy's in a world of trouble. Just look at what has happened.
The Diddy drama is far from over, even though it might seem like things are set for him, with him stuck behind bars waiting for his trial. His lawyers are working around the clock to get him out, but unfortunately for Diddy, things could get much worse. There are rumors that while his legal team fights for his release, there are other people working just as hard to keep him locked up, and maybe even make sure he doesn't leave jail alive.
He's in there, and what we've been told by a former warden is he's a target.
It's no secret that Diddy has gotten tangled up with some dangerous people over the years, but when you deal with a crowd like that and then try to outsmart them, it rarely ends well. Supposedly, Diddy made a major misstep with the Southside Crips, and that's where his troubles really began. According to rumors, Diddy betrayed the Southside Crips, the same gang that was supposedly protecting him.
Well, he should give Keefe some. He said that, didn't he? Because I say this gang of dimes. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, these dudes out here eat your ass up. These some wolves out here, dude. You know LA, this ain't no joke.
Not only that, but there are whispers that he was involved in the murder of Tupac Shakur, one of the most beloved blood-affiliated rappers of all time. Allegedly, Diddy hired the Southside Crips to help take out Tupac, and the whole thing backfired. The story gets even messier. Dwayne Keith, better known as Keefe D, a key member of the Southside Crips, was arrested and charged in connection with Tupac's murder. And apparently it was Diddy who asked him to carry out the hit. Supposedly, Diddy promised the Crips $1 million for the job but never followed through. Instead, he gave the money to someone who took off with it.
After Tupac got killed, Puffy allegedly gave the money
I heard
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
To make matters worse, when Keefe D ended up in jail, Diddy didn't help him at all. Not even by hiring a lawyer. Keefe D has said that he saved Diddy's life, and yet, when Keefe needed him most, Diddy was nowhere to be found.
You're like, oh, that's Keefe D. Otherwise, we would have been destroyed up in that mother. They would have broke our back. I ain't gonna lie, we'd have lost that one for sure. I saved him that day for sure. Lucky them dudes knew me, dude. Otherwise, we would have been destroyed.
Maybe that's why there are rumors swirling that Diddy's life is in serious danger, and apparently, he is well aware of it. Supposedly, he's refusing to eat because he's paranoid that someone might try to poison him.
And now we're getting reports that Diddy isn't eating while in jail, and it could be because he thinks someone's trying to poison his food.
It's a wild situation, and it all started back in the 90s when Diddy first crossed paths with the Southside Crips. The story goes that in the early 90s, Keefe D was introduced to Diddy by a mutual acquaintance, a man named Eric Von Zip Martin. Keefe and Diddy met at a party, shook hands, and that was that. At the time, Diddy was just starting out in his career, promoting artists and trying to make a name for himself. Keefe D described him as a kid with a little swag, but said he was broke back then, just hustling to make it.
It was through Zip Martin.
Okay.
Zip Martin already had a business relationship with the Southside Crips.
So Puffy elected to, let's align ourselves with these street guys, with Zip. And then through Zip came Keefe.
Their first real business interaction came when Diddy rented a car from Keefe D for Usher's music video, Can You Get With It? The rental was supposed to cost $2,400, but after Usher danced on top of the car and wrecked it, Diddy ended up paying $4,400. Keefe D's crew, the Southside Compton Car Club, had a reputation for being flashy, rolling around in expensive, customized cars. In fact, Keefe's family owned a car shop in Compton called Compton Hydraulics, where the money for the damaged cars supposedly went. Keefe's connections in the music world ran deep. Eazy-E, the rap legend, grew up in a neighborhood near Southside Crip territory, and Keefe's brother Kevin was friends with Eazy. So it wasn't a surprise when, in 1993, a Southside Crips car showed up in Eazy's iconic Real and G's video. In the video, you can even see guys wearing Southside Crip gear and flashing gang signs. Fast forward to the summer of 1995, Keefe D was invited to a party called the Beat Summer Jam, organized by Diddy. Suge Knight, the head of Death Row Records and a major figure in the West Coast rap scene, was also at the party. According to Keefe, Suge was jealous of Diddy because Diddy was on top of the game at the time. Biggie's hit One More Chance was everywhere, playing on every radio station. Suge asked Keefe how he knew Diddy, and Keefe responded that he knew him through drug dealing, just like everybody else. But soon, things started to go south between Suge and Diddy, leading to the collapse of their relationship. Two key events took place that changed everything. This is the first event.
I won't have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
The second is with Big Jake, Suge Knight's friend who was often in an altercation between Death Row and Bad Boy Records at a club in Atlanta. Suge blamed Puffy for the emder, and Keefe said a member of Bad Boy Records called him and said, "Your boy Big CEO is tripping." Obviously, this was a reference to Suge. Keefe responded to him saying, "Just send me 40 to 59 tickets and we'll be in there deep at all your concerts." Puffy would give them tickets to be at their Bad Boy West Coast shows. They went everywhere with them. They'd meet up with them at the hotel, get the tickets, and go with them. Crips were backstage, deep at most of the West Coast shows. Because Zip and Puffy were always in contact with him, Keefe always knew where Puffy was, where to go if something were to happen.
And it was Puff. And he like, "You think it's cool to come out here and do concerts?" I'm like, "Why it wouldn't be cool?" So he like, "The big CEO dude." So
Suge.
yeah.
According to Keefe's word, Puff was so scared that he hired ex-Navy SEALs, wearing earpieces like they work for the CIA in the hotel room, next to his suite. According to Keefe D's story, Zip and Puffy met at a club and called him over. Then the following conversation took place. "What's up?" Keefe asked. "I need a couple of problems I need to be handled. Big CEO and pack," responded Puff. Keefe enthusiastically said, "That's not a problem. We can make that happen." Again, according to Keefe's word, Puffy offered $1 million to K-Word, Tupac, and Suge Knight. Now, what did Keefe think about Suge? For him, he was soft. He didn't care one bit about Suge Knight and his crew. That time, Keefe had some argument with Suge and Death Row in general. For starters, one of the girls from Death Row complained to the label's boss that she and her friend were beaten by Keefe D and his crew. Keefe told her, "Well, B, I'm not from Death Row." The entire conflict took place because the time of filming a music video for Death Row, Keefe, who was present there, happened to accidentally touch the girl's behind while she was going down the stairs. The girl then said, "It's an a-hole from Death Row." And then when Keefe's people and those from Death Row were going to be at the same club, Suge's car was shot at and he thought Keefe D was involved in that. However, according to the gangster's words, that was not the case. Also, he had issues with Tupac because of these lines. Some Southsiders were up on the blues on Sunset and they ran into Tupac. One of the gang members went up and grabbed Tupac by the collar and pushed him against the wall and said, "Man, you know what that Long Beach and Rosecrans stand for?" Keefe says Pac thought that the guys from Death Row would protect him, but no one came to the rescue. Next, a fight took place that changed hip-hop forever. One of Keefe D's friends went to a mall, where he came across their rival gang. They started beating him up, and then help arrived just in time, and they beat them up in return, took a chain with the Death Row logo on. Orlando Anderson was present in that fight. According to the words of Napoleon from Outlaws, he claimed that a rumor circulated at that time that Puffy was willing to pay $10,000 to anyone who would steal a Death Row chain.
We want to put this chain in in our video, and that's why the guys try to snatch the chain.
On the 7th of September 1996, another fight took place between Tupac and Orlando Anderson. Pac wanted to get him to revenge for his friend. Suge Knight, Tupac, Buntry, Trayvon Lane, and others were walking by when Trayvon spotted Orlando and pointed him out as the guy who had tried to snatch his Death Row medallion at Foot Locker a few months earlier. Tupac, not one to let something like that slide, approached Orlando and allegedly asked, "You from South?" Normally it's the fans who approach the stars, but this time it was the other way around. Tupac asked his question, and then without waiting for an answer, he pulled back his fist and punched Orlando square in the head, knocking him to the ground. What followed was a brutal beatdown as the rest of Tupac's crew jumped in, kicking Orlando while he was down. The fight was eventually broken up by hotel security and everyone scattered. After Orlando was beaten up, Keefe D wanted to get back at Pac and Suge Knight for this. For him, it was humiliating, because for him, Suge Knight and the entire music industry in general were surrounded by fake gangsters and he couldn't forgive the attack on his nephew. Plus, Puff already offered $1 million for the K-wording of these two, so a few hours later, Pac was emdered. Now, besides Keefe D and Orlando, people tend to forget that there were two other men in the car that night. DeAndre Smith, also known as Big Dre, who was supposedly sitting right next to Orlando, and Terrence Brown, aka Bubble Up, who was allegedly behind the wheel.
Bubble Up was the driver, and Baby Lane and Freaky were in the backseat.
We was just all in the car together.
This was the white Cadillac.
Yeah.
Contrary to what many people believed about Orlando Anderson being the one who pulled the trigger, the word on the street said otherwise. Apparently, it was Big Dre who actually offed Tupac. During the grand jury hearing for Pac's Emder case, a Southside Compton Crips affiliate testified that it was DeAndre Smith, not Orlando, who fired the shots. He explained, "When Davis handed the gun to Orlando, he didn't have a clear shot. Big Dre was 6'6", weighing around 370, 400 pounds. He was huge, and there's no way you could lean over a guy that big to shoot. Shells would have been popping in Big Dre's face, and he couldn't bend down. He was just too big."
About a week ago, that a Crip affiliate told Vegas PD that Big Dre, he shot Tupac, not Orlando. He said that Big Dre, he was about 400 pounds, so Orlando, he couldn't get a clear shot if he leaned over Big Dre.
That made sense to some folks because Big Dre's size was ultimately what took him out, as he later died from health-related issues, though there were also rumors that his girlfriend might have poisoned him.
Nah, Dre died, I think, they say like his girl poisoned him or some like that.
Now, before his arrest, Keefe D mentioned that meeting Diddy was the worst moment of his life. He explained that Diddy pitted him against Suge Knight, which led to the downfall of both him and Suge, while Diddy continued to thrive with his empire. "If I wouldn't have ever met him, I wouldn't have ever been involved in this BS," he stated. "I would have never met the brother. I never would have been involved in this BS. Me and Suge, we played on the same Pop Warner team and everything. My homeboys helped put Suge in the game. It really crashed two people's empire in one night. Mine's for sure. Suge's too. Diddy the only one still balling. He made our ish go down, man. He won't even look out or nothing. Cause he pitted us against each other, which was kinda smart. We're Crips and Suge was Bloods. So you can totally see why the Southside Crips are out for Diddy. And honestly, a lot of people think it's been a long time coming. Between all the shady stuff he's been accused of, Diddy's reputation is really taking a hit. In fact, people are even comparing him to Suge Knight, who for the longest time was seen as the most dangerous guy in the game. But now, it seems like people are rethinking that. Sure, Suge was ruthless, but he didn't hide it. Diddy, on the other hand, has been sneakier with his actions, making him seem even more dangerous. He's known for doing awful things to people who don't fall in line, starting with the allegations from his ex, Cassie. We all know the disturbing stuff she accused him of, and how Diddy quickly settled the case within 24 hours, but he claimed it wasn't because he was guilty. That narrative changed fast when the video of him assaulting Cassie hit the internet and everyone started seeing him differently. In the video, Ventura exits a hotel room and walks to a bank of elevators. Combs, holding a towel around his waist, runs down a hall after Ventura. He grabs her by the back of the neck and throws her to the floor. Still holding his towel closed with one hand, he then turns to kick her, the video shows.
Corroborate some of the allegations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The video, captured on multiple cameras, shows Combs assaulting his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura.
As Ventura is on the ground, Combs retrieves a purse and suitcase from the floor near the elevators. He turns around and kicks Ventura again as she lies motionless on the floor. About 4 seconds transpire between the two kicks, according to the video. He then briefly drags Ventura by her sweatshirt toward a room before walking away. Ventura is then seen slowly standing up. She gathers items from the floor and moves to pick up a phone on the hallway wall near the elevators. Combs, still in a towel and socks, returns. A mirror directly across from the security camera shows Combs appearing to shove Ventura. Seconds later, he sits down on a chair, grabs an object off a table, and forcefully throws it toward Ventura.
Seen picking up a hotel phone. Combs seems to walk back to the hotel room, then returns and appears to shove her in a corner. Moments later, he can be seen throwing an object in her direction.
Combs is seen walking away, then turns toward Ventura once again when an elevator door opens and someone appears to exit. But here's the thing, it's not like this is the first time Diddy has been linked to violence. His connection to it goes way back, almost to the start of his career. Back in December 1991, when he was just 22 and working as an intern at Uptown Records, a charity basketball game he organized with rapper Heavy D ended in tragedy. The event, held at a City University of New York gym in Harlem, turned into a deadly stampede that offed 9 people. A judge did rule that both Diddy and Heavy D were responsible for what happened, but legally nothing stuck. Still, Diddy quietly settled with at least one survivor. Fast forward to 1999, and we see Diddy acting out again, this time in a way that felt straight out of a gangster movie. After a disagreement over Nas's music video for Hate Me Now, where 2 men were depicted being crucified, Diddy reportedly attacked Steve Stout, the then president of Interscope Records, with a chair, a phone, and even a champagne bottle. Diddy was furious about the video and wanted to cut the crucifixion scene, feeling it was too blasphemous. The original charges didn't stick, and Diddy managed to plead guilty to a lesser charge of harassment. His punishment? Just a day of anger management. It was like a slap on the wrist for behavior that was becoming a pattern. And to make things even more surreal, Diddy reportedly smoothed things over with Stout with a $500,000 payment. But that wasn't the end of Diddy's drama in 1999. That same year, he was involved in the infamous Club New York shooting in Times Square, where he was out with his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez and his protege Shine. Shots were fired inside the club, and later that night, the trio's car was stopped by police, leading to Diddy, J. Lo, and Shine getting arrested on weapons charges. While Lopez was released after 14 hours, both Diddy and Shine faced serious legal trouble. Diddy, with a high-powered legal team that included Johnny Cochran, managed to avoid a conviction, but Shine wasn't so lucky. He got sentenced to 10 years in prison. Diddy came out of the situation relatively unscathed, but the incident definitely damaged his image. It didn't help that Diddy's own driver, Wardell Fenderson, testified during the trial that he had been warned against working for Diddy, describing him as arrogant, demanding with a hot temper, and some dangerous acquaintances. Despite walking away from the charges, that time in Diddy's life marked a turning point, especially in his personal relationships. Not long after the Club New York incident, Diddy and J. Lo called it quits for good. The couple officially split on Valentine's Day 2001, and in a later interview with Vibe magazine in 2003, Lopez opened up about their rocky romance. She described how toxic their relationship was, saying, "I was in this relationship with Puff where I was totally crying, crazy, and going nuts. It really took my whole life in a tailspin. She didn't catch Diddy cheating, but she just knew, and that constant suspicion took a toll on her." Lopez also shared that their breakups were so frequent that when she finally left for good in 2001, Diddy didn't even believe it. She had to ask herself whether she wanted to be stuck in a decade, sitting at home with kids, wondering where Diddy was at 3 a.m. That realization made it clear for her that it was time to move on. Well, this whole Diddy drama is like a roller coaster of craziness, but let us know what you think of all these in the comments, and we'll catch you in the next video.